Hello, Scooby Doo fans! Welcome to my Season 1 Episode 10 review of Scooby Doo Wario. So last time I concluded my 2024 summer special with my review of Season 1 Episode 14 of the new Scooby Doo movies, so I hope you guys enjoy that. But of course, we'll be kicking off my 2024 Scooby month, and the reason September is my Scooby month is because September is the month that birthed Scooby. It's the month that the first episode of Scooby Doo Wario ever aired, and I will have a special video for that particular date when it comes. But this is the month where I like to celebrate Scooby's birthday. This is the month of Scooby's birthday, and this year he'll be the number 55. So this will be Scooby's 55th birthday. So I have not only this review, but also some new Scooby Doo movies reviews coming up in honor of Scooby's 55th birthday. But of course, like I said today, I'll be covering Season 1 Episode 10 of Scooby Doo Wario, titled Bedlam in the Big Top, which was released on November 15th, 1969. The short synopsis of the episode is, the gang stumble upon a circus that is supposedly haunted by a ghost clown who hypnotizes people with a gold coin. So as per usual, I'll be watching Season 1 Episode 10 of Scooby Doo Wario on the Scooby Doo Wario, the Complete Series box set. This box set has every episode of Scooby Doo Wario, including the third season of the Scooby Doo show, because they like to market it as such. I talk about it plenty of times in other videos, so I won't go into it here. Now, as far as this episode is concerned, I believe most fans love this episode. It's been praised a lot. It's considered one of the best episodes of the original series. And in my original review, I gave a very glowing review for this episode. I was very positive about it. It was one of my favorite episodes of the original series. But the big question is, do I still hold that opinion? Is it still one of my favorite episodes of the original series? Or has my opinion changed and gone down in any way? Well, why don't we take a look at the episode to see whether I think it is a good or bad episode of Scooby Doo Wario. The episode begins with Mr. Ink driving through the woods and encountering two carnies experiencing bike trouble. The carnies' names are Samson the Strongman and Max the Midget, who introduce themselves to the gang and explain they're leaving the circus because of strange happenings. Mr. Ink goes to the circus and speaks with the manager, Mr. Barnstorm, who explains that there is a ghost clown haunting the premises and warns them to leave. Surprisingly, Freddy, Daphne, Velma, and Shaggy all leave, but Scooby is mistakenly left behind and hypnotized by the ghost clown with a gold coin. It's interesting that the gang decide not to pursue this mystery at first, and it's only because Scooby gets left behind and sees the ghost clown's shadow and decides to investigate that they go back for their missing dog, obviously, for their pet. The rest of Mr. Ink return and split up to look for Scooby. Velma and Shaggy find Scooby balancing across the high wire in a trance and manage to save him. While this is going on, Fred and Daphne go into the costume tent, where Fred is locked in a trunk by the clown, who then hypnotizes Daphne. Now, what's interesting about Scooby's hypnotization scene is, the fun antics that going on, and Shaggy saving Scooby is great. I also find it interesting that the ghost clown also at one point tries to do something to Velma. I'm not sure what he was going to do. I don't know if he was going to, capture her, try to hypnotize her, or push her away, or kill her right there. I'm not sure what his plan was. But thankfully, because Shaggy bounced up and hit where the platform where Velma was on, and she fell with him, that inevitably saved her. But I do like Scooby's hypnotization scene because I love the antics with, the trampoline. But I also like seeing Shaggy save Scooby and just getting a display of how evil the ghost clown is and how he's willing to murder Scooby right then and there and doesn't give two shits.
Scooby, pop the chute! Great! You got it made!
Uh-oh. Run! Run, rolling, run!
He's falling up.
All that goes up must come down. We're rootin' right with Whoa!
Shooting at ya. I'll save ya. Coming, Scooby. A clown's rubber ladder. I should have known. Gotcha! We saved you, Scooby.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Scooby, Velma, and Shaggy find her riding a unicycle and wearing a ballerina costume. So what's interesting about Daphne's hypnotization scene, I guess the first thing interesting is that the ghost clown doesn't even bother to hypnotize Fred. He has the chance to. It's not like he couldn't have. But he just decides to lock him in the trunk instead and go right straight to Daphne, which is interesting. And Daphne's clothes are changed. So that implies that he might be a bit of a perv. Or at least is a creepy dude who has... And because he must have, you know, watched Daphne change into the outfit, you know, I wouldn't put it past him considering his murderous tendencies in this episode. It's definitely implied for sure that he was doing something creepy while Daphne was hypnotized and changing into her ballerina costume. We also get a nice joke from Shaggy saying that that Daphne doesn't know how to ride a bicycle, which is pretty funny. But I like the scene because I like seeing Shaggy and Scooby take initiative and trying to save their friend Daphne and doing everything they can to wake her up. And and we get more fun hijinks, you know, involved in it. So I enjoy it a lot.
She's coming back. Now's our chance.
Give me a hand, Scooby. Grab the stampede net. Hang on. Here she comes.
She's heading out of the big top. We mustn't lose her. Shaggy, Scooby, Daphne went in the animal tent. Hurry, maybe we can catch her.
Animal tent. Let's go.
They save her as well thanks to the spray of an elephant and rescue Freddy. What's interesting is that Scooby talks to the elephant to get the elephant to spray Daphne, which is actually pretty cool seeing Scooby talk to other animals. It's something we see in later series, but I do like seeing it here. And so the gang decide to set up a trap to capture the ghost clown in a cage. But obviously this backfires when the clown hypnotizes Shaggy and sets him taming lions. Scooby saves Shaggy and they flee with the clown in pursuit. Now what's interesting about this, you know, Shaggy and Scooby going to trap them, is initially Scooby was going to be the bait by himself, and they didn't give him a Scooby snack, but instead just a hero sandwich, which was a big sandwich that Daphne pulled out of thin air somewhere, and that got Shaggy to get himself involved. And I thought it was cool how Shaggy and Scooby, they were working to surround the ghost clown and try to catch him off guard, you know, get his attention. And I like Shaggy's hypnotization scene because I think it's a good reverse of roles from earlier. When Shaggy saved Scooby, this time Scooby gets to repay the favor and save his best pal, as Shaggy gets probably the worst out of the three. Both him and Scooby get pretty bad, but Shaggy gets a pretty bad one where He's locked in a cage trying to tame this lion, and if the ghost clown wakes him up with that whistle, Shaggy's as good as fucking dead. You know, really dead. That lion would have mauled him to death, which makes Shaggy's probably the most dangerous out of the three, although Scooby could have fallen hurt himself as well. Daphne could have maybe as well around on the elephants, but Shaggy would have had the worst brunt of it all, brunt out of the three of them. But I do like seeing Scooby, you know, saving his best pal, and just seeing, once again, the clown's murderous tendencies, wanting to... It doesn't give two fucks about murdering Shaggy right then and there, just so he can, you know, achieve his goal. And it's, you know, it's one of the main reasons I love the Ghost Clown as a villain, so... Yeah, I like Shaggy's hypnotization scene. There's also, like, a little drop of, you know, for Disney fans, the lion that Shaggy tames is named Simba, so that's a fun little reference there. But yeah, I like the Shaggy hypnotization scene. It's got fun antics with Shaggy taming the lion, but also I think it's just cool seeing Scooby save his best pal. And the Ghost Clown just being deliciously evil. You know, I just love seeing the Ghost Clown work. I don't want him to murder my favorite character, so obviously I'm happy when Scooby takes that fucking whistle away from him. But man, I just like it. It's really cool. It's really awesome.
Hold it, Scooby. That's him. That's the Ghost Clown. Let's surround him. You go that way, and I'll go this way.
Watch the pretty coin of gold, and you will do as you are told. You are brave, and that's a fact. So you will do the Lion Tamer's Act.
Back up there, Simba! Roll over, Simba! Craggy!
Rusty Roy.
Ha! Now, Simba! Stand! Stand, Simba!
Raggy? Very good. But now the Ghost Clown strikes.
Ha! Ha! Back, Simba! Back! Ha ha! Ho ho! Hey!
When I blow this whistle, you won't be a lion tamer. You'll be a tasty snack for a hungry lion.
Down, Simba!
Raggy!
Up, Simba! Up! Down! Up! Down!
Raggy!
Back, Simba! Back!
Raggy! Raggy! Give me that whistle! Rick Raggy! Rick up!
Oh, hi, Scooby! Yipe!
Here, Raggy! Huh? Righty roll!
Over here! Here I am! What you waiting for?
So, they think they have escaped me.
They manage to lead the clown into the cage, but he vanishes from inside it. Fred's frustrated cry unlocks Shaggy's memory as Shaggy remembers that the clown uses a gold coin to hypnotize his victims. Going out again, the clown tries to hypnotize both Shaggy and Scooby, but the two counteract with a mirror while closing their eyes and trick the clown into hypnotizing himself into acting like a chimp. Now, I love this trap sequence. I think it's really awesome that Shaggy's the one to remember. It is a little weird how Shaggy's the only one out of the three to remember. It's interesting that Scooby and Daphne didn't have anything click in their heads about the gold coin, but I think it's cool that Shaggy remembered and took some initiative and was like, hey, that's the clown's trick. Let's use it against him. And he came up with an idea on the spot. Which just further proves my point that Shaggy can take initiative when he needs to and could create a trap if he wanted to. But it's also like, it's also interesting, you know, that when Shaggy and Scooby hold up the mirrors, the ghost clown kind of doesn't stop his trance. People have kind of mentioned that a lot on like why the ghost clown, you know, why does he continue doing his act while the mirrors are still held up? I can't really come up with a good explanation on why the ghost clown didn't stop himself, but it's cool nonetheless, and I don't really question it, because the point is that Shaggy and Scooby are supposed to get the upper hand and trick the villain into capturing himself by using his own trick against him. It's not like it you know, so we have to like suspend our disbelief in some areas. So I'm okay with it. I think it's fine. You know, obviously it's a little, maybe somebody in the comments could give an explanation on why the ghost clown didn't stop his trick when Shaggy and Scooby held up the mirrors. But yeah, it's a plot, a little bit of a plot hole, I guess, or like, you know, like a bit of a, you know, plot contrivance or whatever you want to call it. But I don't really care. I think what the point is that we just want to see Shaggy and Scooby take the initiative and get the upper hand on the villain by using his own trick against him. And it's not like they could pull the mirrors out in the last minute because they have to protect themselves. And the ghost clown maybe would have noticed them closing their eyes. So, but either way, I love the scene. I love seeing Shaggy and Scooby turn the tables on the ghost clown and making him use his own trick against him. I think it's awesome.
Watch the pretty coin of gold, and you both shall do as you are told.
Now, Scooby!
You both have fur, you both are limp. You swing from trees like a happy chip. Watch the pretty coin of gold. Be chimpanzees as you are told.
They lure the chimp clown into a cage and then unmask him. Mr. Barnstorm recognizes him as Harry the Hypnotist, a man we've never seen before this episode, and a man that was not mentioned before at all before this point in the episode, who had his own act with the circus until he was caught stealing and subsequently in prison. He came back to get revenge and dressed up as the ghost clown to do so. The ghost clown that vanished in the cage was a balloon replica inflated with a gas cartridge, the deflating of which gave the illusion that the clown had disappeared. Later, Fred, Daphne, and Velma sit in the audience talking about a surprise Shaggy and Scooby have planned. Mr. Barnstorm introduces Samson, who has returned to the circus. Interestingly enough, for some reason, there's a kid with a Scooby balloon in the background. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how Scooby got a balloon made of himself. That's very odd. I don't know if Fred came up with that or if the circus came up with that. Like, you know, where did this balloon of Scooby come from? Like, how does that make any sense? Like, how did this kid get a balloon of Scooby? I mean, I would love it. I would love if I had a balloon of Scooby. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, there's plenty out there, obviously, with how big Scooby is now. But I'm just saying it's weird that, you know, this random kid in the audience has a balloon of Scooby when, I mean, I wouldn't suspect you'd be a big act. But regardless, the episode ends with the strongman lifting the huge barbell, and then the balls on each end pop open, revealing, of course, Shaggy and Scooby. I'm going to give Season 1, Episode 10 of Scooby Doo Where Are You? 5 stars out of 5. So yeah, my love for this episode has not changed one bit. I still love it just as much as I did in my previous review. It's still one of my favorite episodes of the original series. It's a classic. It's always one I can go back to and watch. So my love for this episode has not changed one bit. I love it, love it, love it. I love everything about it. But first, before I get into why I love it so much, we'll first go and start off with the negatives of the episode. And yes, there are some issues with it, and I'll go into those first before I talk about the good things. Starting with the negatives, the first one that I have is I think Velma was pretty weak and useless in this episode. I wasn't really happy with her utilization in this episode. I don't really think she did anything important. I kind of feel like they wasted her. She did show some concern towards her friends, obviously, when they were in these dangerous situations. But that's really about it. She didn't piece together any clues to help solve the mystery. She had no leadership moments. She just was kind of there. And I think that's a shame. I wish they had given her more to do. But yeah, she just wasn't utilized well in this episode. Outside of costume, we never get to see Harry the Hypnotist before he's unmasked. We don't even hear about him either. So it's quite a disappointment because, like, obviously I'll get on to why I like the Ghost Clown as a villain in a little bit. But I think it's a shame. It's not as bad. And the reason that it's not as bad that he's a no-name suspect is that it's a former boss of his talking about his story, why, what his job was there, why he was fired, and what his motive was. So in that respect, it's a little bit more tolerable. It's kind of like the Spooky Space Kook, because it's someone that's knows them well, and with Spooky Space Kook, who was a neighbor. With this one, it was a boss, a former boss of his. That's better than like a cop just saying, oh, it's this criminal who's been, wanted in 7 or 8 states, whatever the fuck, that is. But, I don't usually like that shit. But when it comes to no-name suspects, I'm not big on them. But I'm okay with Harry because it's somebody that knows him, somebody from his past that knows him and is explaining his story. I still would have liked, it would have been better had maybe we heard about him beforehand, had a line been dropped about him, or had we seen him in some capacity, whether that be in some alter ego that he presented, or, just some other fashion. I don't know. It just would have been interesting had they incorporated Harry beforehand, so we would have at least known about him and known about his presence before his reveal, so that way it wouldn't be as bad. But it's not a huge negative. It's just something they could have tweaked to make it better. But I still forgive it because it's his former boss explaining his story. And I feel like we get all the answers we want to know about Harry, which is good. We get a story from a former boss of his. And I think that's better than some random cop explaining to the gang who this, unknown person is. So while I would have liked to have seen or heard about Harry before he was unmasked, I can forgive it because it's somebody from his past explaining his story. But still, I think it was a missed opportunity not to do it. I think they could have found some way to do it. I would have liked had they incorporated some way to do it. There were no clues in this episode at all. Nothing to point towards a suspect, narrow down the suspects, or point towards a motive. And that's a shame. I would have liked some clues to help point. That could have also helped with, learning about Harry. Maybe the clues could have, maybe introduced us to Harry and we could have learned about him through that. That could have been interesting. But yeah, there weren't any clues to point towards a suspect or make anybody suspicious or narrow down the list of suspects, but there weren't any clues to, point towards a motive, and there were just no clues debunking, that this wasn't an actual ghost. I guess the closest could be the cartridge, the balloon cartridge of, that Harry used to create an inflatable version of his alter ego, the Ghost Clown, to make it appear he was a ghost. And maybe the gold coin, but honestly, these are just more tricks that he uses and not so much clues. And they're all figured out by the time he's unmasked, so they don't really count as clues for me. So, wish there had been some clues in this episode to either give a hint about Harry beforehand or just point, kind of get us point towards a motive in this episode. It's a shame there wasn't any clues in the episode. Finally, I wish Fred and Velma had been hypnotized, and I think it was a missed opportunity not having them be hypnotized. So I've heard people, I had an original comment on my original video stating that because the episode was 20 minutes long, that they weren't going to be able to fit 2 hypnotization scenes for Fred and Velma, and that's why they only did Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby. But I kind of disagree with that notion because because if you look at Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby's hypnotization scenes, the length of them is from like a minute to 3 minutes long at the most. So they're not very long, and I feel like they could have at least. You're telling me you can't incorporate another 2 more minute to 3 minute segments for Fred and Velma's hypnotizations? I think it was a missed opportunity, and the reason I say that is because had each member of the gang been hypnotized, it would have really created the sense of danger that no member of the gang is safe. And I feel like by the Ghost Clown just targeting Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby, he's just kind of going after the ones that are normally viewed as the ones that always get captured. Or somebody would view as the weaker members of the gang. Whereas, Fred and Velma are more the brains and the leadership. Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby are more, the ones who get captured, or the cowardly stuff, the cowardly duo, and they're very humorous. But there's more to Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby, obviously, as I've shown in plenty of my Scooby Doo reviews, and I don't see them as that. But I feel like that's essentially what the Ghost Clown is doing. He's just targeting the easier members of the gang, or specific members that we know that always get captured, and not, ones that we would normally see be smart and, be the leaders. I think it's a shame that we didn't see. I'm okay with Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby being hypnotized. I like that each of them got hypnotized. But I think it's a shame that Fred and Velma didn't do that, because it would have, like I said, it would have created a sense of danger for all the members of the gang. And it would have given us an idea of how each member would have been like under the clown's hypnosis. So I personally disagree with that notion. I think, if I remember correctly, I heard in one video that one of the comic book adaptations has one of them be hypnotized in it. So it might be partially rectified in a comic book adaptation. We'll have to see if I get to it, when I get to a comic book adaptation of the story, if that's true or not. But yeah, it's just a shame. I would have liked to have seen Fred and Velma being hypnotized, and I think the animators really, they had the time to do it. They had, they could have put in another minute to, 2 more minutes to 3 minute segments for them. I think it was a bit of a cop-out. And I think it was too easy just to go after Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby. I like that they gave Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby hypnotization scenes. I think it's cool. I love all of them. But I just wanted more. I just wanted more because I wanted to see what Fred and Velma would be like in those situations. But I wanted to feel more of that sense of danger, that no member of the gang is safe, and that this Ghost Clown can manipulate any of them and make them do dangerous acts that could potentially hurt them. But that's all I got for negatives, so let's go on to the positives for the episode and what I love about it. Starting off the positives, the first one that I have is I thought Fred had some good leadership moments in this episode, and I thought it was cool that he set up a trap for the Ghost Clown in this episode. Even though the trap was simplistic and not as eccentric as we normally see from Fred, I still think it was cool that he set up a trap for the Ghost Clown, and I think he had some good leadership moments when he was with Daphne, or when he was explaining the trap, and what was going to go down. But other than that, yeah, I think Fred was decent in this episode. He did a decent job. He didn't stand out much, but he fulfilled what, certain roles in this episode. As for Daphne, the only thing I really have to say about her is I just liked her. I thought her hypnotization scene was cool. That's really about it. She had a cool hypnotization scene, and I liked seeing her be hypnotized. I think it was cool. But other than that, she didn't really do anything, anything else. She just had a pretty cool hypnotization scene. And then lastly, we have Shaggy and Scooby. And so Shaggy and Scooby do a lot of the heavy lifting in this episode. In fact, I'd say Shaggy and Scooby are the strongest characters in this episode. For one thing, they were both very brave in this episode with, with them saving each other, when they were both hypnotized, when they were when, Daphne was hypnotized, they were both brave and trying to save her. Going after the ghost clown and being bait, they were quite brave then. And also, trapping the ghost clown at the end, I feel, was a sense of bravery. I thought it was cool that we got to see both of them be hypnotized. I think they both had cool sequences. And like I said, I think it was cool that we got to see them save each other. I'm a sucker for when Shaggy and Scooby, sees one of their best friend in peril, so they go save each other. So I liked seeing Shaggy save Scooby in the beginning, and Scooby returning the favor and saving Shaggy when he was hypnotized. So I thought it was really awesome. I always love seeing that. And we really got to see them be leaders in this episode. Unlike other episodes, unlike most episodes with Fred and Velma being leaders, Shaggy and Scooby took a lot of charge in this mystery. Because the gang weren't even going to pursue this mystery. They just were kind of decided, we're just going to go, because Mr. Barnstorm tells them to leave. And surprisingly, they leave. They don't try to pursue it any further, which is interesting. It's only because Scooby gets accidentally left behind that they decide to go back and, go get him. And then that kind of ensues, kicks off the mystery. But Shaggy and Scooby really are the reason for that, because Scooby kind of sees the ghost clown shadow, then goes to investigate, what that is. And when, Scooby's hypnotized, Shaggy kind of takes the leadership and tries to save him. When Daphne's hypnotized, Shaggy and Scooby both take leadership and, try and step up to the plate to go save her, and then go get Fred out of, the cabinet he was locked in. And then when Shaggy was hypnotized, Scooby kind of took some leadership and went to go save his best friend. But also they were both, and they both were leaders when Shaggy had, the gold coin pop in his memory, and he remembered, which was interesting that Shaggy remembered, but he remembered, and he came up with an idea to use the villain's trick against him. And I feel like not only was that brave, but I thought that was a good leadership moment as well, because they just took initiative and went after the ghost clown and tried to, and use his trick against him. And speaking of that, like I said, I think it was cool that we got to see Shaggy and Scooby trap the ghost clown. Trap in the loosest sense. They pretty much just, use his trick against him. But I love it. I love that Shaggy, remembers the gold coin. It's interesting that Shaggy does, but not Scooby or Daphne don't have something click in their head when, when Fred mentions, money. But I think it's cool that Shaggy remembers, and he's like, oh yeah, and then goes, and he comes up with an idea to use the clown's trick against him. And I love that. I love seeing Shaggy and Scooby, being, having a, moment where they realize the villain's trick, and they go to capture him. And, they do it successfully, and I think that's awesome. Shaggy and Scooby really were the backbone of this episode. They did a lot of the heavy lifting. When they were both in danger, they saved each other. When Daphne was in danger, they saved her. They helped Fred get out of the trunk when he was locked in. They both agreed to be bait for the sandwich, which is normal Shaggy and Scooby behavior, but they were still quite brave, when they became bait, because they decided to surround the ghost clown. And they were brave when, and took initiative when Shaggy realized the gold coin, had remembered the gold coin and the clown's trick, and used that against the ghost clown. So, loved Shaggy and Scooby in this episode. I think this was a fantastic episode for Shaggy and Scooby. They were the backbone of this episode. They were the best characters out of the whole gang in this episode. They got a lot to do in this episode. Then we have the villain of the episode, the ghost clown. Oh my god, was the ghost clown awesome. I love the ghost clown. He is talked about quite a lot, mostly by diehard fans, but not by casual fans. I think he's gotten more love as time has gone along. I've heard some people try to diminish the ghost clown and try to play it off like, oh, he's not that scary. And, scary is very subjective to people. Certain things are scary to certain people than it is to others. But if you consider the ghost clown not scary, I honestly don't know what you're smoking, because this dude is fucking terrifying. I said it before in my previous review of the ghost clown. He is very scary and threatening due to his evil nature. He doesn't care about money or land. He wants the gang to kill themselves just to ruin this circus. He doesn't give two fucks about murdering these 4 teenagers and this talking dog at all. He is such a psycho. He's willing to murder them right then and there just to get his revenge on the circus. You know, all of them could have been easily killed. Scooby could have fallen off that high wire. Daphne at one point was on top of elephants and could have hurt herself. Shaggy got the worst of it. He could have been mauled by a lion. And God knows what would have happened had Fred and Velma been hypnotized, what dangerous situations they would have been in. But he was so ready to do it. Not only that, he was laughing about it. He was laughing at their misery. He wanted to. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed having these kids kill each other. He was fucking laughing like a psycho. And I loved every second of it. See, this is a dangerous Scooby-Doo villain. This is one you don't mess around with. This guy didn't give 2 craps about killing the gang. He had no moral compass. He was a straightforward, evil man that was willing to do anything to get his revenge on the circus. That, to me, is a scary and threatening villain. And not just that, he looks creepy. I'm personally don't have a clown phobia myself. But I can find scariness in clowns. You know, I can find creepiness in clowns, and obviously with, you know, modern media, we gotten plenty of that. But this is one of the original cases, I would say, where this showcased a creepy clown, you know, in early pop culture media, and I think that's, you know, he's one of the better ones. You know, he definitely. It's a fantastic ghost. He's not too ghostly. So had it really just been a murderous clown, I would have been okay with it. Had it just been a murderous clown and not even like a ghost. But I guess the animators felt that because Scooby-Doo is all about debunking the supernatural, I guess they just weren't comfortable with, you know, just having him be a murderous clown. But for what it's worth, I don't mind. Like, I don't really care. I love the ghost clown. I think he's fantastic. He is somebody I wouldn't want to be around with. He's stalking you in the circus at night. He's laughing at your pain, and laughing that he's going to murder you, and he doesn't give a crap. He's a complete psychopath, and is possibly an implied pervert, because Daphne changes into a ballerina outfit. And he probably was watching while she did that. You know, he probably had her change right in front of him, like the pervert he is. So there's a lot of underlying, you know, things going on with the ghost clown that suggests that he's not some typical dude that did a bad thing and wants revenge. No, he's an evil man. He's an evil, very evil man who has a very evil nature. And I don't know, I can't see how anyone doesn't view this ghost clown as one of the best Scooby-Doo villains. He's one of my favorites in the original series, and one of my favorite villains of all time. He's definitely up there. He doesn't give a crap about murdering the gang or killing them to achieve his goals. He loves it. He relishes in it. I wouldn't be surprised if he hurt other people while he was doing it. So to me, nothing but love for the ghost clown. He was a phenomenal villain. A+. He was scary as shit. He was very threatening. He did not have any qualms about murdering these kids or their talking dog. One of the best villains of the original series. I love him. Then we have the motive of the ghost clown. And I gotta say, the motive is quite unique. It's really awesome. So it's not a simplistic money or land motive. So his motive is that he wanted to get revenge on the circus and Mr. Barnstorm specifically because he was caught stealing and sent to prison. That is a quite unique motive, especially when you look at the full picture. So essentially, He worked for Mr. Barnstorm's circus. He tries to steal something, I'm assuming money. He gets caught. He's sent to prison. He gets out after, whatever he's charged with. He decides to get revenge on them by sabotaging the circus in any way. And he sees an opportunity to make, with the gang, by having them, I think even another YouTuber, Dr. Wolfield, mentioned in his video that the Ghost Clown most likely had these kids perform on the members of the gang perform these dangerous acts because he wanted them to look like circus performers and kill them, and kill themselves, and essentially look like, and that would ruin the circus's image. It would essentially, have them kill themselves as making them look like circus workers and ruining the reputation of the circus even more, which I think is even more dangerous because these are just some random teenagers and a talking dog. They did nothing to this man, but he doesn't give a crap. He just wants to achieve his revenge, and if he's willing to go this far for it, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a dark past. Maybe even if he had no qualms about hurting other people, or he, maybe was a pervert or something. I wouldn't put it past him, and I think this motive is quite unique. He just simply wants revenge on Mr. Barnstorm and his circus. He wants revenge on the people who sent him to jail because they caught him stealing. And I think that's a fantastic motive. It's very unique. He doesn't have any qualms about achieving it. He goes to any length to achieve it, and it just adds to his character even more because it just showcases why he's such an evil man and what lengths he's willing to go to. So I love the motive. I think it's excellent. I think it's unique. One of the best motives of Scooby Doo in general, and one of the best motives of the original series in my eyes. There were a good number of suspects in the episode. You had 3 suspects who were Mr. Barnstorm, Samson the Strongman, and Max the Midget. Now, you could argue that how do these count as suspects? The Ghost Clown is seen in shots while these 3 are talking with the gang. So they couldn't be at 2 places at once. But I would argue that that's just the animators trying to throw suspicion. And it's very likely that still either one of them could have been it. Hell, it could have been any of them, So I still consider them suspects because I wouldn't put it past the animators, just to try to throw suspicion off of them and, make it look like it's not them and it's somebody else. So while some people might not consider these 3 suspects, I do, because I do think that it is entirely plausible that any of these 3 men could have easily been the Ghost Clown, because who better to want to sabotage a circus than somebody who was at the circus? Between these 2 workers or, the ringleader. So we had a good number of suspects in the episode. We had 1 villain, so 3 suspects. That's pretty good. That hits that hits above the bare minimum. So yeah, I found it to be a good number of suspects in the episode. And even though that some people may not consider them suspects, I do. I think they, I still think they can count as suspects. Because we've seen in past episodes, the animators try to, trick the audience into believing one thing when it's actually the other thing. So the mystery was pretty compelling in this episode. I actually quite liked the mystery in this episode. It was really compelling and really engaging. So the mystery of the episode is you wanted to know why the Ghost Clown was haunting this particular circus. What made this circus so special? Why was he haunting it? What was his goals? What was his end game? What did he hope to achieve? Why is it that out of all the circuses in the world, this one was targeted by the Ghost Clown? What makes it so special? So to me, that's an interesting question, and you learn at the end why the Ghost Clown chose this specific circus over other circuses. It's because he has a personal tie to the circus. So I think the mystery was great. It really was engaging and compelling. I wanted to know the answers, and I got satisfactory answers at the end. So, good mystery in my mind. I really love the atmosphere of this episode. It was filled with tension and suspense. it was mainly due to the villain himself, the Ghost Clown. The Ghost Clown had such an evil and threatening nature that, like I said before, he was a murderous psychopath who was willing to do anything to achieve his goals. So because we saw the gang in such dangerous situations and he had no issues with murdering them and to achieve his goals, it made for such a tension-filled atmosphere, and it was very suspenseful because we feared for the gang's safety because we didn't know who he was going to go after next, what he was going to make them do, and how the gang would be able to overcome this foe. How are they going to be able to defeat this evil, psychotic Ghost Clown? So I love the atmosphere in this episode. And also, the spooky setting also helps with the atmosphere as well. I'll get onto that in a little bit. But yeah, the setting of the episode, the circus at night, also did help a little bit as well to make a fantastic atmosphere in my mind. Finally, we have the setting of the episode. So tying back into what I just said previously, yes, the setting was really good in this episode. It was quite unique. Despite it being really only one location, which was the circus, it had a lot of variety in the setting, and it was mainly due to the fact that you had these different acts and different tents. So that created, a lot of variety in the setting because, you didn't know what acts, the gang were going to be forced to commit and how dangerous they would be. And it was also cool seeing these different acts. It was also really creepy, just seeing this normally cheerful place, this family-friendly place that you would normally go to, just to be with your family and watch, go to the circus and, see these, colorful acts. To see it at night, very secluded, it's in the middle of nowhere, and you got this, it's dark and empty, and you got this murderous psycho clown walking around. That creates quite a great setting. The Ghost Clown really helps contribute to that, but just the tension and suspense, he provides with the setting makes the setting that much stronger. So I love the setting. I love the variety in it. I love that we get to see these different acts. I love the secludedness of it, that it's in the middle of nowhere. You're seeing this normally happy-go-lucky, family-friendly place shrouded in darkness. It's creepy, it's dark, it's empty. There's only Mr. Barnstorm, the ringleader, and, all the other workers have left. They don't want to deal with the Ghost Clown curse. And you got this Ghost Clown walking around, not giving two shits about murdering the gang to achieve his goals. So, for that, the setting is fantastic. I love it. Overall, guys, I would recommend this episode to fans and newcomers of the show. Despite the negatives that I have, they don't hinder my enjoyment of the episode. It's still one of my favorites of the original series. It's in my mind, it is easily one of the best episodes of the original series. Really due to the fact that due to its, dark nature. The dark nature of this episode really makes it so good and so amazing and easily rewatchable. It's definitely one of the darker episodes of the original series, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen this episode, go and watch it. It's such a fun time. It feels like a horror movie. It feels like it could be a plot for a horror movie, honestly. And it's just fantastic. I just love this episode. I love coming back to it. It's always great, and it's due to the villain, the gang, most of the gang being strong, the motive, of the villain, and the setting, and the atmosphere, and the mystery itself. I love all of that about it. Obviously, there's some things they could have tweaked to make it better, but for what it's worth, I love it. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. It's not perfect, but it's one of my favorites of the original series. So if you haven't seen this episode yet, go and check it out. You won't be disappointed. Don't listen to those people who consider the Ghost Clown, not that scary. Go and judge for yourself. I promise you, he is a creepy villain. He is a very threatening and scary villain. He has no qualms about murdering these teens. It feels like you're watching a mini horror movie in my mind with the Scooby Gang in it. So for that, it's awesome. It feels like a classic horror movie. So go and watch it. It's a fun time. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please give a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the episode. You like this episode, you like me, do you consider it one of the best of the original series and love it, you know, as much as I do? Do you hate this episode? I'd be interested in that as well. Is this not your cup of tea? You know, are you not as fond as other people are of this episode? Do you see issues with it that me and others don't? Or are you somewhere in the middle where you just think it's decent, but it's not good or bad? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know. And subscribe for more Scooby Doo content like this, or if you're just interested in any of my other content, I will have plenty more Scooby Doo content on the way as part of Scooby Month. You know, we'll be continuing more of Scooby Month with more Scooby Doo reviews. So there's going to be plenty more Scooby, but even after that, you know, I'll be continuing doing more Scooby Doo reviews down the line. Scooby's not going to leave this channel anytime soon. It's my go-to. It's my franchise. It's the thing I'm most passionate about. I love this series. I love this franchise. So, you know, yeah, if you love Scooby, you love everything Scooby, and you want to talk about Scooby, you can come join this channel. We'll talk about Scooby and talk about all his pieces of media. So you can also follow me on Facebook, where I have discussions about things we talk about on both my channels, and Twitch, where I hope to live stream in the future. So in my next video, I will continue my 2024 Scooby Month with my Season 1 Episode 15 reviews of the new Scooby Doo movies, the second Batman and Robin episode, like I said previously. But that is the end of the re-reviews. There are no more re-reviews. This is the last one, and we ended on a pretty high note. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on these 10-episode re-reviews. I'm happy that I got to redo these and give you guys much more well-structured and well-thought-out reviews, rather than the off-the-cuff ones that I had in early on. And I will not be redoing my Season 1, Episode 11 review to Season 2, Episode 8 review of Scooby Doo Are You. I feel like I'm happy with those. I feel like I conveyed my thoughts well in those reviews. So, if you're new to the channel and you want to know my thoughts on Season 1, Episode 11 up to Season 2, Episode 8 of Scooby Doo Are You, I have an entire playlist of all my Scooby Doo Are You reviews, so you can go check that out and watch those reviews to hear my thoughts on that. But yeah, we'll be back to just solely focusing on the new Scooby Doo movies. Because I've pretty much wrapped up my re-reviews. I'm perfectly happy with the thoughts I made previously, and I don't feel my opinions have changed on those episodes. It could change maybe down the line, who knows, but for now, I'm happy with those reviews, and I'm not going to be redoing them. So, thanks for joining me on this journey for re-reviews, and yeah, if you are interested in hearing my thoughts on the second Batman and Robin episode, come join me in the next video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, peace out.
Where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you. You got silver. You're not here with me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shimmer. You know we got a mystery to